Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for joining Jasmine and me for this wonderful session on well-being in the workplace. Right now, we know that a lot of things happen in 2020, and 2021 is no different for most of us. Still working from home, right? Some are excited to go to work. Me. Some I know can't. But yes, thank you so much for being here today. And so this session is going to be very simple, very easy. It's to share what we think, what we feel. And we would like you to also share your thoughts, your ideas, your experiences as well. So if at any point you do want to share, please put up your hand or using the reactions, right? Put up your hands using the reactions or put it down in the chat box, right? This is a safe space for all of us. And yeah, so thank you. I will pass this on to Jasmane. Thank you, Jasmane. Over to you.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see your names. If I can't see your faces, and I've seen a few faces, so I'm very happy. Welcome to the session. Today we're talking about well-being, the buzzword, you know, in this time, during this time of COVID and pandemic and working from home. But today's aim is to review well-being in a real context. And we're going to be talking about that. What does real context mean to us as Riparians? And we're also going to be touching on a few next steps to provide guidance for the way forward. That's what we're aiming to achieve today. Next slide. I have a question for you. Do you think you maintain a good balance between work and home? Now, that is a tricky question at this time because you don't leave your homes. But I want you to answer your questions in the poll. All right? Chicken, can you stop sharing so I can share the poll? Thank you. There's a poll on your screen now. Can you answer? And we'll see what the results look like for us. And I'm going to launch it now. There you go. Oh, the answers are coming in quite fast. There's a lot of yeses, there's a lot of no's, and a lot of maybes. Okay, I'm going to give it 2 or 3 more seconds, and then we will end the polling. All right. So I'm going to end this and I'm going to share the results with you. Can you see the results? At this point, 36% in this meeting thinks that they do have a good balance between work and home. 21% says no, and 43% says maybe. That brings us back to why do we feel like that? And that is one of the reasons the balance, the life balance, life and work balance is really, it's really pointing us back to our well-being. I'm going to continue and actually just reflect on what our settings look like today. What is our setting, our new norm settings? Some people visit classrooms, some find themselves in meeting rooms, some's in the office, and holiday or leave locations. Do we still go on holiday? In the new norm, the setting is home. All of these venues has become home. And how does it affect you? If we think about what affects well-being in our different locations, Shika, next slide, please. What affects well-being today at home, in the school or office or online? We're going to look at all these things. Look at home. At home, you had to adapt, discipline yourself. You had to have enough energy to actually keep going, and the motivation. You need to have that in your balance. What affects it in the school or office? The expectations, definitely. Fear. A lot of people actually are struggling with fear. Leadership. What is your communication like with leadership? Uncertainty. In this time, overall, uncertainty is a big word during this pandemic, because in many workplaces, people are unsure whether they're still going to have a job the next day, the next month, or the next year. Online. We have been spending a lot of time online. All our meetings are online, training is online. So, online, a recent survey has shown that competition actually affects the well-being. The internet and everything available on the internet have made people competitive. Their competence are being questioned. The communication, although the internet connects us immediately and within a few seconds, sometimes when you read an email, it's not read like as it's meant to be, right? People misunderstand each other via social media or emails. Connectivity. People are struggling with connectivity. It has become a big challenge for people in rural areas to communicate with students. Even teachers and staff are struggling to stay in meetings and always be in the meetings. The creativity has been challenged. And if you're not good with technology, it is a huge challenge. It affects your well-being and the culture, right? I know in some cultures, people just don't believe in being online all the time, right? In farming communities and rural communities, that's not their lifestyle. So all of these things, it really affects well-being today. What do you think affects your well-being today? Whether you're at home, whether you're in the office, whether you're in a school, or whether you're online. Does any of this speak to you that we have just mentioned? If we continue, next slide, please, you can. What are your expectations at this point? We're going to have a few breakout rooms. We're going to put you in breakout rooms. And I want you to think about, as a Lipedian, we're all Lipedians, what are your expectations linked to your well-being when you go into a school or whether you're working from home? What are your expectations to actually improve your well-being? Or what are your expectations, if I must reflect back onto the things that are really affecting your well-being today? So you're going to go into breakout rooms and you can just chat to each other for a few minutes. I'm going to set it to about 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes. In the breakout room, discuss what you expect at this point. Think about communication. Think about work expectations. Think about connectivity, all of those things. What are your expectations to improve or sustain your well-being? I hope you had a good discussion, and I'm going to ask a few people to just share what they found, like overall, what were the group's expectations in this situation, in to sustain their well-being at this point? All right, so let's ask who's willing to share. Put your hand up if you want to have a go. No hands. Time for names. Let's ask Azreen.
Okay, Jasmine. Okay, so in my breakout room, I had Avi, Puan Samiha, Miss Rabia, and Faiza. And I think we shared the same opinion about setting expectations for our well-being. I feel that everybody in the group had set expectation to help with their well-being, but somehow whether that expectation can be met or not, it's very subjective. Because at the end of the day, from our discussion, we feel that work has taken more hours in that 24 hours that we have. And
time,
yeah. And working past working hours, our normal working hours like 5:30 or 6 o'clock, it's normal. And waking up very early, let's say 4 o'clock, to look at an email, reply email, we receive email at 6 o'clock or 6:30. That's normal during MCO. But and then we also talk about having a feeling of anxiety. Miss Rabia was having anxiety. Being at home, you feel that. Being at school as well, you feel that. So how do we manage that? So that was.
Thank you for that, Azreen. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Just building on Azreen's question, how does time, with the impact of time, our time has changed, working hours have changed, affect your well-being directly? Anyone wants to answer that? How does that make you feel? How does it affect your balance between home and work, which is in the same location, family and work? Anyone willing to answer that question?
I think for me, I actually I get to see my family a lot more because I'm at home. Whereas if I was in the office, I would still be working, longer hours. So before MCO, I was still in the office at 7:30 in the morning, which means leaving the house at 7, and then I'd normally get home at about 7 as well. So now I just get to see my family more, which is. But I'm aware that everyone has very different, perspectives and experiences of this. But for me, it's completely perfect working from home. What we're doing for working from home, having the option to go to the office and working from home, I think it's perfect for me.
Thank you. So it worked out well for you, Gary. That's good. Florence, would you like to share?
Yes, thanks, Jasmine. For me, I can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you clearly.
Right, like Gary, I feel that working from home is actually quite nice because a lot of time is saved. The time that we would be spending, actually dead time on the road, we are now at home. So you get up and you can go straight to work. So what I have is a fixed place where I work. That's my office and that's where I work. And I stick to the time so that there is no encroaching on my home time. Work doesn't encroach on my home time. But what I find is that I can't switch off mentally. So I still have work in my mind and I'm thinking about stuff that I want to do. And sometimes I can't fight it anymore. I go back to the computer and I do stuff on the computer. That's the way I feel. But I really feel that the quality of work is much higher when we work from home and we don't have to worry about the traffic. So thanks.
Thank you for that, Florence. I hear what you're saying, that actually it does have an impact on your mental well-being. Mentally you cannot switch off. You just keep thinking all the time. There's some responses in the chat. Yes, I agree with Florence, since we are all responding based on personal dynamics. And then there's someone who says Netflix distracted me at first, but now after a year, I found my balance. Yeah, so that was my challenge of working from home. Thank you so much for your contributions. I think this is something that has really made us think about our expectations and how everything that's been happening with us at home has really impacted our well-being. Thank you. Let's continue. Today's focus, actually, we want to kind of discover basic human psychological needs, like in a based on a survey, to understand mental health, and to set goals for overall well-being. So be kind to your mind. We just talked about expectations, and this session we really want to focus on being kind to your mind. Thank you. If we continue, it's very easy to think about these things and kind of run away from it, but let's reflect and review. How has 2020 impacted your ability to work effectively? And I want you to type your answer in the chat. So you either type totally, somewhat, or hardly. All right, and we're going to have a look, and everybody can see the chat. So open your chat to see how the answers come in. Okay, we're going to just spend about 2 or 3 minutes on this. All right, please put your answers in the chat. Somewhat, okay, totally. How has 2020 impacted your ability to work effectively? Okay, somewhat, okay, somewhat, totally, totally. All right, keep typing. How did it affect you? How has it impacted you? Answering totally. Thank you. Somewhat. Okay, Faiza, totally. Somewhat. Nina says somewhat. All right. All right, I don't think we're getting any more responses, but it's obvious that the year 2020 and everything we've been going through has impacted our ability to work effectively. And for some, it's very positive, like for Gary. He loves working from home, he's more productive. Florence is producing a higher quality of work. And some of us say somewhat. There's no hardlies. There's no hardlies. So I think Gary has changed his totally into a positive totally, right? So good. If we continue on the next slide, we're going to have a look and think of our basic psychological needs. Think about your psychological, mental, emotionally needs. What would you say they are? What is your basic needs? Right? If we look at the answer, across different studies, the 5 basic human psychological needs identified are love, being understood, belonging, achievement, and purpose. And yes, we all need love at this time. We all want to be understood. We want to still have a sense of belonging, even though we're all working from home. And one thing good about LEAPED, we know we belong to LEAPED. And it doesn't matter which role we have. LEAPED is always there. LEAPED has given me stability when it comes to a sense of belonging. Achievement. I kind of latch on to Florence's words. She said she's producing a higher quality of work during this pandemic. And we also have to think about what do we really want to achieve in this time? And what should we be achieving on a daily basis? And purpose. Do you feel you have purpose, or whatever you're doing purposefully? Those are the things we need to think about. So if we continue, we'll be looking at how satisfied were you in 2020? I'm not going to ask you to put your answer in the chat. I just want you to think about this. Just think about the year 2020. How satisfied were you in 2020? Very dissatisfied, or just dissatisfied? Were you okay, satisfied, or very satisfied? And that's going to differ from person to person. And because this is a well-being session, I'm not going to ask you for answers. I just want you to think about that. All right? Okay, I think I'm going to look at mental health, and I'm going to kind of just define it. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. And I think this is not rocket science. I think we know this. But sometimes it's just good to be reminded of that when it comes to well-being, we need to think how we feel, how we act, how we handle stress, how we relate to others, and we have to make choices to sustain a good balance between home, work, family, and we also have to know the choices we make will have an impact on everything we do. Next, please. I'm going to hand over to Sangeeta now to take you through the next 3 slides. Oh, and she will be talking about understanding mental health. Over to you, Sangeeta.
Thank you, Jasmane. Thank you so much. Right. So the next 3 slides is for you to think about, to reflect on. If you would like to share, we will be very happy to hear them. But yes, reflect on these questions. You saw a mental health professional over the past year. You took any medication due to poor eating or sleeping habits. You were absent due to your inability to emotionally or mentally cope with work demands. I can safely share that I have been absent from work because I could not cope with work demands. And it's very difficult. So many things happening at home, and work becomes quite a bit when you're at home. And then you've got kids and family, and there is no clear line that you finished work and you're moving on. So I found it very stressful over the last year, but I have managed to understand where that problem was. All right. Now, reality is there are many questions on mental health and physical health. But what is harder to talk about, physical health or mental, right? Why? Right? There are so many things we can talk about. There are some things we don't because we are afraid. Are we afraid of what people will think or say? Yeah, so these are some of the questions that you can think about as well. Next slide. Small questions to think about. Do you know what is expected of you at work? What happens when you are frustrated at work? Can you find solutions? Do you have any support when you're working at home? Whether it's family, whether it's colleagues, whether it's your line manager, right? Have you received any recognition or praise for good work in the last 7 days? Yeah. Can you talk confidently with someone concerning managing your workload? Are you able to tell your line manager that I am overwhelmed? Yeah. And do you have someone at work you would consider a friend? I know I have, and I am able to speak a lot about work and personal matters as well with this person, and it makes it easier to get stuff done. You know, when I don't know what else to do, and I would be able to talk to this person. So think about all these questions, have them reflect upon it, and if you need, use this opportunity to share it with someone in this group, share it with people that you know that will be able to support you, right? Next. I'll pass this on to Jasmane. Over to you, Jasmane.
Thank you, Sankita. Very good questions, very thought-provoking. So I would like to ask you, do you remember being understood? Having clear channels of communications across all levels. Do you remember that? Achievement. Work is being recognized and actively commented on. Does it happen in your institution? Does it happen at LEPED? Do you actually recognize the work of others and actively comment on that? Do you have a sense, do you feel you belong? Or do you make others feel they belong? Sometimes with well-being, starting with self is more important, because like there's a saying that goes in it, and they say respect earns respect. So it is good with well-being to say, let me start with self. Am I making others feel they belong? How do I make others feel? All right. Purpose. Do you have clear direction given for work goals and expectations? And if you're in the position of actually having to give others direction, are you doing it clearly? Do you spell out what the goals are and what the expectations are? We just had a discussion on expectations, and you could clearly express yourself. Are you giving others the opportunity to do that? Thank you. Now we're going to talk about coping mechanisms. Of course, it's just to deal effectively with something difficult. And sometimes you have to cope, but I'm going to reflect on something that the trust schools are doing, with the ground teams and SLT and teachers in schools. They are all saying to them, let's set some SMART goals. And just thinking about it, I thought, okay, maybe I must set SMART goals as an employee to maintain a balance, a healthy balance between work and home. If I look at what people are recommending, we also have a department of coaching. I think of everything that they're trying to put into practice and recommend, and going to well-being centers. People are doing that and doing a bit of research on the topic. This is what I came up with, right? Thank you, Shiken. Is to self-assess. Have a well-being recipe. Think about the application. How are you applying yourself in the workplace? What knowledge do you still need to gain to be more effective and to feel more satisfied with yourself? Your skill set. Do you have to develop certain skills to maintain the balance between work and home more effectively? Relationships. In the workplace, we talk about professional relationships. Do you strive to maintain healthy professional relationships? What are your needs? What are your needs for a positive mental and emotional well-being? Think about that. Jot it down somewhere. Learning. What do you still need to learn? And do you know what others you are working with still need to learn? And does your learning empower you and make you feel able to actually function happily, satisfied, and feel like, actually, yes, I can do this because I've learned today. Even after this session, let's make it simple. Let's keep it simple. What have you learned today? Maybe you haven't learned something new, but maybe you learned that, okay, I need to reflect and think of myself. Be kind to my mind. Are you growing? Are you growing with all you do? In all you do? Right? Growth is important. The final one is to serve and succeed. We started out by saying, to maintain positive and good well-being is to serve, to start with others first. So to start with self and to serve others is definitely it's a good ingredient for to serve and succeed and have good well-being. Next, I'm going to acknowledge James Freeman. Some of these slides belongs to him, so I'm going to acknowledge James Freeman. He did this webinar for us a while ago, so I'm going to acknowledge him in this session. All right. And the last says, thank you and be well. Before we go, if there's anything you would like to comment, you can stop share now, Shikan. Thank you so much. I think we've done well. We're on 10:50. If you have anything you want to contribute and share in the chat or just raise your hand and speak, that would be good. I feel really positive about this session, especially the breakout rooms. People have opened up and they discussed, and I like the overall feeling the session has. So yeah, be kind to your mind. Go back. Sometimes we have this mindset like, oh, they didn't even say thank you. Ask yourself, did I thank someone else today? Did I give someone clear direction today? And let's see how we go as we journey on as Lipedians, right? I think we are particularly blessed as Lipedians sitting here and actually being in this session together, because we're all in a job. We're all in a company that's going places, right? So yes, there are going to be challenges. There's always going to be challenges. But if we start at that positive point, maybe we can build on that. I also want to thank Gary and Florence for turning a negative into a positive, right? Like I've done a few sessions like this. I've done coaching one-on-one with people, and you have pointed out today, take that negative and turn it into a positive. Thank you for that. If there's anyone else, any questions, anyone who wants to say something, feel free to do so. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes left, and then we'll close the session.
I would also like to suggest that, talk among your friends because, in the sharing session, the breakout rooms just now, I heard awesome, stuff people are saying and doing to ensure that they sustain their well-being. Have conversations on that. When you share, you will tend to learn more stuff from different people. When I said when I agreed to do this with Jasmane, I learned so much from Jasmane that it gave me a new sense that maybe I could do this. And obviously this session, Florence and Gary, has made me realize that not everything is that you have to. You can turn a bad thing into a good thing. It can be stressful, yes, but it will take time and you need to work on that time, right? So yes, please share. Please share. We want to hear from you guys.
Yes, it would be lovely if someone in the session can share what they think. There's no right and wrong here, and I think this is more of a bonding session, right? Florence, over to you.
Again, I just wanted to say that as an organization, we pride ourselves, I think, on design thinking. What we do, it's design thinking. So there are two aspects of design thinking, one of which is show, don't tell. Right? That's one aspect of design thinking, show, don't tell. So I'm thinking about, are we waiting for someone to praise us? Is that necessary? Sometimes other people's actions can show us that we are appreciated. It doesn't have to be verbalized. And another one is we're human-centered, right? Design thinking is human-centered, and as an organization, we are human-centered. So these are the two things that we need to remember. Thanks.
I also add something that I've really relied heavily on over the last year and always actually is to try and eat healthily and to try and exercise as much as I can, even if it just means go for a walk, because I truly believe that if you have a healthy body, it's so much easier to have a healthy mind. So don't forget that. Look after your body as well.
Be kind to your man. Thanks, Gary. That was good. Yes. I also want to reflect on just something in the chat. I'm just going back to it so I don't misquote the person. Yeah. Someone said it can be equally difficult depending on the individual. I think that's so important. We are all different. We are all unique, right? So don't crucify yourself if you can't balance your time because you were made differently. You're a unique creation. And just like Gary said, be kind to your mind. Right? Go to bed. Go to bed. Resist the temptation to get up in the morning and sit behind your laptop. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.